What's up, guys? Defcon TCG, and here I'm going to be detailing my event going from Chicago all the way to Akron, Ohio to play in the Full Grip Standard / GLC 6K Extravaganza event. And this is how it went. All right, we're freshly checked in today to Full Grip Games. I'm here with DeAndre, and we're here for Standard today. We got a couple of pretty regular picks. Well, DeAndre's just waiting for the GLC event tomorrow.
He's just here really early.
yeah.
He's camping out.
He's actually gonna take a nap right there on the ground by the paints. But yeah, I think we're all pretty confident deck choices. Except Nunez. Nunez is right over here somewhere, but should be a good time. We'll keep it updated as the rounds go on, and yeah, hoping to get a little repeat right here, but get a little farther in Top Cut this time. What's up, guys? We're here for Glizzy Lover Club today, and Santa didn't go so hot yesterday. I had a losing record, and I did the best at everybody, so it was not a good day. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
So we're here for GLC today. Hopefully, doing a little bit better.
3-2, dog.
Yeah,
I could have went 5.
3-2. Yeah, you would have been 3-5. Anyway, keep going. So yeah, we're playing. We got an assortment of decks here. I think everyone's playing a different type, right? Yeah. Get a little GLC going. I just smacked up Nunez so bad game 1, I didn't even get to record it.
That's not true, dude. That's propaganda.
There's no evidence, actually.
No, actually, I pictured it in my head, bro. I donked you with Soul Rock.
Show me the Carfax.
That's why I'm taking videos now. All right, now that the little preamble's done, we can get into how the tournament run started, and I'll show you a little overview of my deck before we get into the game. All right, so here we have in all of its glory, I have my Psychic GLC list here, and it's definitely a weird deviation from the normal Psychic deck that you see nowadays. To me, the Psychic deck that currently exists is like, put a bunch of basics down that are big and kind of power them up and just have attackers going to keep up with the prize race. To me, that deck is sauceless and it's not fun, and this is like the way I like to play the Psychic deck. This is why I was kind of drawn to this archetype, because this way, you have a way to take multiple prize cards across multiple turns. That way, Psychic can always outpace what your opponent is going to do if their deck is just going to be very kind of linear, of like the normal kind of GLC decks we see nowadays, where it's just, I'm going to get a basic Pokemon down, attach a bunch of energy to it, take a knockout, next turn do the same thing, and kind of just keep up with this prize race. And if both decks are kind of just taking one at a time, then whoever gets ahead 2 prizes can pretty much always guarantee that they're going to win. So I just felt like that was a super boring way to play the format. This is kind of how I built my deck, so you can take a good look at it, and I'll explain a little bit more about the deck as the video goes on. Round 1 GLC at Full Grip Games over here. I managed to win a Psychic Mirror round 1. My opponent opened really well. I got a turn 1 VIP pass, Nest Ball supporter, and then my turn 1 was pretty solid as well. I was able to get the Mew lead, and then I was able to get a pretty solid board turn 2. I think my turn 2 was like Xatu, Kirlia into the adjusted Horn, which was really solid. My opponent also led the Boulder and was able to kind of, we went into like the Boulder Wars, which is a lot of what Psychic wants to do, like in the mirror. Especially because like I prized my Tina and my Heavy Balls, my last 2 prizes, so that was pretty rough. But I was able to still pull out the win. My opponent like Ioned himself in like a pretty bad hand, and then I was able to go like move damage over with the Monkey Dory, and then Guzma up his Kirlia and kill it with Mind Bend, which was pretty funny. You don't really get to attack with the Monkey Dory that much, so that was a cool play because, yeah, my Zacian wasn't doing a lot of damage yet, and then, yeah, it's kind of hard to chain boulders when you're not playing, like, the build for it. Like, my opponent was playing a couple cool cards, like Judge and Red card, which are cool. Like, he's playing, like, super turbo into Boulder, which is cool. I definitely would consider playing a Judge in the future. I like that card in my opponent's deck, so I might have to go steal that technology from him, but going in round 2 and see what happens. All right, guys, I'll admit this one's on me. I don't have any more videos until after Swiss is over, unfortunately, and this is totally on me. I definitely need to get better about just taking more videos during events. I'm still getting used to the whole vlogging tournaments thing. It's not something I'm used to, but you will have a couple more videos until then, so hopefully this little explanation can hold you over about the rest of how my Swiss went. So obviously round 1 I went against Psychic. Round 2 I played against a Dark deck. And this is one of the most nerve-wracking games I have because, one, I played the Psychic deck because I didn't think anyone was going to bring Dark. because of how good fighting is at the moment. And then I still don't even think the Dark has that great of a matchup in the sidekick, but if they're able to get the Guzzlord off, it is pretty unfortunate. It's not a lot of things you can do to deal with it outside of the Iron Boulder in my build. So it was really bad too, because I led Natu pass, and for you guys that don't know, Natu is 40 HP, the one I'm playing at least, and my opponent led the Free Retreat Sneasel and then had a Hoopa on the bench, so that was pretty nerve-wracking. I look at my opponent, I'm going, look, bro, if you have energy, I'll just scoop. I don't have another Pokemon. He said no. So we managed to play out a pretty full game, and I managed to win. The Blacephalon turn kind of swings me the game on this one. Then round 3, hit another Psychic player from Chicago. I had not played against this person before, but a pretty cool game. I ended up getting to the Blacephalon turn. Again, it swung me the whole game. And yeah, I was able to take like a multi-prize turn and then kind of win with the Natu from there. So this was probably my closest game of the day as far as my Swiss games went. Round 3 was against a fighting deck. And now, so this matchup was really crazy because my opponent had like the god start of like lead Soul Rock, raw VIP, into Karina, into Brooklet Hill, and just get like a full board off. And I was kind of struggling with my setup, but I was able to get to a point where, again, Blacephalon Munkidori just kind of carry me to almost victory. And I get to Iono my opponent to 1, and they draw a heavy ball. It doesn't do anything at the moment because their board is Okidogi and a benched Soul Rock, or a benched Lunatone, the other one. And he just has to draw fighting energy to win. But he's down a lot. I think he was down like Night Stretcher, and he was down versus Seeker. He was down like 5 or 6 supporters. So I was like, please, anything. Like, I think the only thing I can really think of is like my opponent plays like a Clara or like a Lana's Aid, something random. And he top decks the Clara for game. So I ended up losing that one. Really close game. Round 4, I play against my buddy Austin here on the screen. He's playing the fighting deck as well, but it's more of a straightforward, like all basics, just get in their fighting deck. And I've kind of said this before, is like decks that are linear just cannot beat Blacephalon plus blindside. It's just like physically impossible. So once I took a prize lead, he was never able to catch up. And then on the 3 prize turn, I went to 1. On his 3 prize turn, I went to 1. So it's just like the game's over from there because everything in his deck is either weak to Psychic or I resist. So he has to do a little bit more to take these knockouts. And unfortunately, there's a little 88 card house and 88 card house crime. And I was able to knock him out of contention of Top Cut, which really sucks because that's my boy. But, you know, someone's got to lose. So do that. And then I go into the final round against my Psychic opponent for Swiss. When you guys watch the stream game, I did have a little bit of flub with the Tina, but I managed to have the most awful start in history, and then I somehow managed to win from a crazy board state. Let me show you. This is my big swing turn in this game. So if we look, I have this Blacephalon in play with the Dimension Valley, and my opponent has a Ralts with 60 HP, a Shuppet with 50 HP, so I'm able to take double knockouts on these, and then I'm able to put an extra 10 damage on my opponent's Natu here, so that my thought was if I'm able to put 4 damage counters on this, then my opponent's not able to devolve this, and then yeah, I take a pretty big swing turn here, and I go to 2. My opponent's still 3 prizes, so even if they want to knock out my Blacephalon this turn, then, you know, I'm 1 blindside away from winning on this. And then if my opponent somehow doesn't take a knockout here, because I think I had like 10 cards in hand, then I'm able to just take the knockout on the Xatu and the Mew, I believe, because well, Xatu has 7 left and Mewtwo has 6, so all I have to do is play a scoop up net onto Giratina and then discard it, and by using my, you know, I have like what did I still have left in the deck to discard? I think I still have like Guzmahala, and I might have had, no, because I used Treasure at the beginning of the game, so, you know, maybe if I'm able to, how am I able to even discard this? I don't have a Curlia in play, so I think, yeah, my only out to discarding this is like maybe Guzmahala, but, you know, maybe I have it in hand. I have 10 cards in hand, so I'm able to find any way to discard this Tina, bring it back on the board, and then Blacephalon again, the game's over. So, but I do manage to win this game. Pretty close game, honestly. I was not feeling very good about this, like, in the actual game, but then once I got to the 3 prize turn, because my opponent took 3 prizes before I did anything, so I thought this one was cooked.
Alright, well, just ID'd for Top Cut at the Full Grip 6K GLC Tournament, so standard didn't go too high yesterday, but I think I had a pretty good deck choice today, and a couple of the tech options I had really paid off. Blacephalon's really put on like a masterclass today. I think I would have literally gone like 2-2 without it, so card is absolutely ridiculous, and yeah, hoping to hit a decent matchup in Top Cut and just, you know, be able to play it out, no bricks, and just, you know, have some good matches. I'm in the cash now, so I'm hoping to, obviously I want to win the whole thing, but top 4 would be like a super nice, way to end the weekend. So hoping for that. Yeah, the Psychic is broken. Definitely don't think my deck is like super powerful, but the amount of options it has makes me like the deck a lot. They have a ton of options, so yeah, deck's sick.
Oh boy, was I wrong. My deck was insanely powerful for this event, and I think I maybe just described it poorly in the moment because I was looking for the words to find, but I think my deck was actually probably the most powerful deck in the entire room, just by the amount of prizes I could take back to back. Just kind of separated me from whoever that sat in front of me, because no decks are kind of built like that in the moment. Like, every deck is kind of sauceless. They're just kind of, big attacker, I'm gonna get in their deck. So I thought my deck was insane. I move on to the top 8 match, and it's a pretty one-sided match, I will say. I think my opponent kind of did what their deck was supposed to do. They just set up a bunch of one-prize psychic Pokemon that do a lot of damage, but then they're not able to combat my prize trade, so I was able to cleanly take both games like very easily. So obviously my opponent played pretty well to get to top 8, but I think my deck was just a terrible matchup for his. I think the sauceless decks just have no chance against the Blacephalon version of the deck, unless the deck either bricks or gets donked. I think it just kind of beats those decks straight out.
Hey, I'm in top 4. I'm on the stream.
Alright, into my top 4 match, I hit Hydro Pump, which actually is insanely scary for my deck, because it's one of the archetypes in the game that actually has something that I'm not able to one-shot in the big Wailord. Now, Wailord's especially scary because it's a ton of HP, so it's always going to trade up, which makes it so that Wailord's always going to take 2 prizes into my 1 prize, which is exactly what my deck is trying to avoid, right? And the thing too is a lot of the stage 2 Pokemon in water have a ton of HP, and also water has access to Manaphy, so that's going to turn off my blindside plays unless I'm able to do a bunch of damage to the active, which is probably unlikely because either my Giratina or my Boulder is going to be able to one-shot whatever's in the active. Not, it's just going to be the Wailord, and my deck doesn't play a lot of gusting options to kind of bring stuff back into the active, so... But, we both get pretty good starts here. I'm able to get all my guys down, and my opponent's turn 2 is really nuts too. I think they're able to get like back-to-back, like clean researches, but I think that this match went about as well as it could have for me. I know that there was a questionable turn here coming up where people were questioning what I was doing. I want to say it's a little bit closer to the Blacephalon turn, but I think I get 130 damage into Kyogre on this following turn. I'm going to pause till I get to it. Alright, so here I do 130 damage on a Kyogre, and I think my opponent just kind of takes the crackback and just knocks out my Kyogre. And I know the couple people in the chat were yelling at me to use the Natsu to knock out the Kyogre, but the whole point is, so on this following turn, right, my opponent's going to go to 3 prizes. And my goal this turn is to make sure that he can't attack on the following turn, right? Because I think at this point, my opponent's pretty far ahead, and a lot of his Pokemon in play have a lot of HP, so it's going to be pretty rough to be able to find these multiple turns of taking multi-prize knockouts, so I have to make him whiff for a turn. And with Kyogre's attack, it does 180 damage and puts a 3 energy back into his hand. Now, if I can Iono my opponent to 3 cards and get rid of his Octillery, now my opponent has to have 3 energy in their 4 cards, which means either they're going to need to use like something very valuable like Versus Seeker, or they have to top deck like energy plus like a bucket, a vessel, a professor's letter, something to get them a bunch of energy back into play, which, the chance of them drawing in just a bunch of energy is pretty high because I am putting 3 energy back into their deck. But with Iono, I'm putting it to the bottom of the deck, so I felt really confident here in just killing the Octillery, putting a bunch of damage on Frostmoth for later to be able to KO it with either the Blindside or a Monkey Ping. And then this is kind of the turn that swings the whole game for me, even though I'm pretty sure my opponent is able to find a Confusion into my Blacephalon next turn, which is pretty unfortunate for me. So yeah, I'm only able to take 1 prize there, but now this benched Frostmoth is going to be in range of Tina Ping plus a Monkey move, which is going to be able to let me cheese a prize card later, because more than likely my opponent's going to want to save a Scoop Up net for either this Kyogre in the active, and then because they don't have, like, if I'm able to KO back Excalibur, keeping this Frostmoth in play is like essential. And yeah, we see, actually my opponent actually just gets the KO with the Kyogre in this game. I think it's in game 2 where they do the Lapras thing. But yeah, I think this game, let's see how this one ends. Let me skip through a little bit. I think on this turn, I just play another hand disruption and pass. Let's see. I think I go to sack the mime here. It's a pretty long turn, actually. Yeah, I think I just go to sack the mime. I go like hand disrupt, sack mime. My opponent gets like field blower, Tate, and Liza, which is pretty bad for me. But I think they whiff the attack, which is good. Like, it gives me another turn to kind of do stuff. Yeah, so my opponent passes. They retreat into Wishy-Washy. But then on my turn, I'm able to use the Monkey Dory to KO that Frostmoth on the bench. And then I'm reading the Wishy-Washy. It's been like 5 years since I've seen this card. And then I think I'm just going to take the attack in the Blacephalon this turn. I want to kind of remove any of that energy acceleration. And now because the Blacephalon was pinged for 10 damage and it got hit for 130, now it only has 20 left. So now I can win the game with a Monkey Dory ping plus an attack onto something. So I'm just kind of hoping here my opponent isn't able to evolve into Whalelord. Because my goal probably this turn is to just boss kill the Whalmer and then ping the active for damage. It takes away, well, first I'm always gonna probably ping the Blacephalon just to kill it, so my opponent has no energy acceleration. So they're gonna have to pre-accelerate to something. But yeah, I'm able to just promote the guy here, the Mr. Mime. But I think this game I'm not able to get the Natu blindside combo because I think I discarded the timepiece pretty early in the game. So I'm not able to devolve my Xatu into Natu. And let's see what I want to do here. I go for the Tina ping and the KO, and then I'm able to get Wondrous Patch plus Malamar plus Xatu plus Boss Kill on the Whalelord. So that's the scary turn. And there's one more turn I want to talk about it in this next game. It's this turn right here. So I managed to like kind of get back into this game. Same thing with Blacephalon, kind of blowing up my opponent's board and then kind of using my opponent's like little baby Pokemon here to be food for the blindside later in the game. And so my opponent does a really cool play here where he confuses me because he's only able to do 100 damage with his Lapras. So I look at this like, okay, the upside is if I hit heads on this turn, I think it's impossible for me to lose because I'm able to take the KO into Sobble, which is huge, or the KO into Octo. I think from this perspective, I'd probably KO the Octo. So I put, I think Octillery is 90, so I put 7 on Octo, which leaves me with 5 more damage counters, which I probably put like 5 or 4 onto Frostmoth, and then like 1 onto the Sobble, so that it's able to get blindsided later. And then I can kind of do the same thing with the Frostmoth, where it has 6 on it, so then I can move 3 over with Monkey Dory, because I do have 4 to 8 damage counters on my board, so I'm able to double Monkey Dory this following turn, which I do have a slight misplan this turn before, because I don't believe I used my Xatu to attach energy, but I ended up using it to using my manual attachment to attach to Blacephalon, which was silly. I should have just attached the Dark Energy to Monkey. But the reason, I know commentators had a question on this over when I rewatched this game, like why attach double energy to Blacephalon. Well, it was just in case I needed to retreat the Blacephalon if like my opponent did something funny and I needed to retreat Blacephalon later. I wanted to be able to get the energy off of Blacephalon later and not just have it sit there like a duck, which kind of does matter later in the game. Because I have to scoop up net my Blacephalon to get the energy off of it, so I needed that energy back in the discard. But unfortunately here I flip tails, but I don't think it ends up mattering, because I think if we go forward a little bit here, let's say we go like a couple minutes forward, I'm able to take some more cheese prizes here. So let's see, yep, I'm able to promote my Giratina. Giratina takes a knockout onto Lapras, and my opponent puts up the big whale, and the whale's going to kill me. I think this is actually probably my closest game of the whole day, aside from my one Swiss game on stream as well. And we see like my opponent kind of, I'm lining it up in my hand. I'm checking to look at my discard pile. Like, okay, do I have the blindside knockout? Because that's going to be pretty much the only way I win. My opponent sets up for game next turn with the Inteleon for the Superior plus the Guzma. So I know my guaranteed my opponent has game next turn. But I think that I'm able to like, I draw 2, and off of one of these I draw the Strange Timepiece, and then I have the teammates in hand, or I draw the teammates off of one of my draw cards. Yeah, I draw the teammates off of the Shining Arcana, which is pretty huge. I guess if it was Gallade, it would have done the same thing, but I don't know. Throughout the whole day, I just wanted the Gardevoir in hand, or the Gardevoir on field, just like an extra way to just draw cards. And here I piece together the combo. I look for the Psychic Patch and the Blindside, and I'm pretty sure this is just the whole combo. I Stretcher and get the Psychic Energy. I Clairvoyant Sense to my Zatu, but it doesn't really matter because I have, yeah, the whole combo. I just show it to my opponent there. He scoops it up, and then we're off to the finals, baby.
All right, quiet in the card shop. I just won my top 4 match against Hydro Pump. Super close set. Honestly, I think game 2 pretty much could have gone either way. At the last turn, I was able to Shining Arcana into the teammates to be able to get me the combo to use the Natu plus the Blindside to be able to take the final KO. And so I'm in the finals now. I think I'm playing against a Turbo Water deck, so a little bit of a match experience. I played the Andre a couple times, but we'll see how it goes. I'm feeling okay, but you know, it's the Psychic deck, so you can always just draw a bunch of nothing. So we'll see how it goes.
Alright, so the second game is where things get a little bit hairier. I draw significantly worse. Even though I'm able to get up Kirlia and Zatu on my second turn, I don't have any energy in play to attack. So I know that I have a Raihan or a Teammates in hand, I think. So I want to kind of force my opponent to KO this Tina to kind of trigger. So I want them to trigger one of my comeback cards here. And so I think that's exactly what happens. I think my opponent just goes for the Palafin KO here onto my Tina, which is going to unlock my deck and allow me to kind of just do pretty much whatever I want to do. So I think on this turn, I'm able to get the Boulder KO. Yeah, so I get the Boulder KO to kind of stay up in this price trade. And then, yeah, just kind of get my board more established. My opponent has a cool play here where they're going to use that Quick Shooting Inteleon to put 20 damage on my Iron Boulder. And that in combination with the Bastia Legion is actually going to be able to knock me out. So they're taking away my only attacker, which is pretty rough. So yeah, I promote my Mew here. My opponent doesn't have anything that can really be field blowered. So my whole turn, I'm kind of debating whether or not I want to use my Field Blower to get rid of my own U-turn board to put it on my Mew, because eventually I want to put the Turbo Blindside, or the Blindside onto my Zatu to be able to take that extra KO, because I am down a prize, so I'm going to need to be able to do either the Blacephalon cheese multiple prize turn, or I'm going to be able to do the Natu cheese multiple prize turn, so kind of just have to pick one. So yeah, I end up using the Field Blower here to put that on the Mew, and then I make sure this time that I am losing, so my Giratina plus the counter energy is able to knock out this Blacephalon, and then I just pre-bench the Monkey there, and I'm able to take the KO, put damage counters on Monkey, and then I have the Dark Energy in hand for the next turn. So now here, my opponent's going to get that Palafin back in play. It has a damage counter on it, so if my opponent does want to take that knockout onto my Tina, they're going to put another damage counter on this Blacephalon, or not Blacephalon, this Palafin, so it's going to give me just another thing to potentially blindside later in the game if I'm able to put more damage counters on it. And my opponent uses that Quick Shooting onto the active Giratina, and they're just going to use the Palafin to KO it there. And then we go into the Danger Zone turn where I'm able to hopefully get to a Blacephalon. And I think off of my Kirlia, I draw a Mysterious Treasure to be able to get the combo going. I get the Scoop Up Net there. Nice utility card, super broken card in this deck. Can help fix your bench if you need to just kind of get more attackers down, or if you need to heal something that was damaged, or like if your U-turn board went on something you didn't want to in the early game. Like I think I had to attach a U-turn board to like a Iron Boulder at one point in one of my games. So I went like Iron Boulder, attached the energy that gave it -2 retreat, and then I was able to kind of like get it out of the active. So here I'm gonna blow up this Octillery. So the Octillery is gonna go from 9 to 5, which means I have the 5 damage counters to knock it out there, and then another 7 damage counters to knock out something else, which means I'm going to be able to knock out the Misty Staryu and the Octillery. Insane prize swing for me there. And then it's kind of set up next turn where I have the 1 damage on the Monkey Dory, and then I also have the Giratina in my discard if my opponent's able to find that Rough Seas on this following turn. But I think my opponent just takes the KO here with the Tortuga. I have a billion cards in the discard, so it doesn't really matter what my opponent wants to do. But yeah, my opponent KOs my Zatu here. Very good play for my opponent so that I don't get the Blindside KO. So they at least have like another turn to do kind of whatever they want to do. But yeah, see, I use a Scoop Up Net there to get rid of the energy on my Blacephalon, because those are the only 2 energies I have in play. And I'm just kind of lining up my turn here. I'm thinking, okay, do I have the Blindside play? So I have energy, I have the Rescue Stretcher. So I Stretcher, grab a big Natu back. Yup, grab Natu. And then I have Attach for turn. Yep, I'm just counting all my stuff, making sure, because this is the tournament winning play here. I'm able to use the Psychic Patch to get it on there. Boom, Attach for turn. And then I use the Malamar put 1 damage counter onto the Staryu, blindside, retreat, and then boom, blow up the Staryu, and that is game. So I'm actually able to take down the whole tournament, 8-1-1, and yeah, pretty surreal. So we'll go into kind of the deck and I'll explain more about it in a moment.
Hey, I won! Oh wait, do you have the rolls? Can we see the rolls?
You see the rolls?
It's going in the
Hall of Fame.
It's going in the Hall of Fame binder. Oh, look at that. Now I have an excuse to buy a foil one.
Alright, now I can show the full picture from the start of the video, and we have the $1,000 check to me, Hector Ibarra, for winning the Full Grip Phantasmal Flame GLC Tournament, and this is my deck in all of its beautiful glory, and it's as pretty as it can get, pretty much, I would say. I think my deck's pretty nice, man. I don't know, it's a pretty cute deck. But I want to just go over some of like the card choices, because people were asking me a bunch of questions about stuff. So one, why am I playing this Gardevoir right here instead of the usual Gallade? One, I felt like this is a combo deck disguised as like a mid-range deck. And with combo decks, you kind of need a lot of cards in hand. Like, I think on an average turn, I would have like 7 to 9 cards in hand. I really, in this deck, only want to attack with Iron Boulder if I can get it on the first or second turn. And then, like, maybe if it wins me the game by the end of the game. But then again, by that time that happens, you either set up to attack with Giratina, or you just have a Zacian. The reason I had the Zacian in the deck, I only attacked with it like 2 or 3 times the whole tournament. Was because if my Tina got Lost Zone, I wanted to have a backup attacker. And I kind of think after this tournament, people are probably going to start playing more Lost Cities in their decks. Ooh, excuse me. And I think after this tournament, people are going to play more Lost Cities into their decks. So, you know, I hope that my Giratina doesn't go to Lost Zone too much. But if it does, I kind of know why. It's probably just from this run being so crazy, honestly. I think my deck was probably the best deck in the room. And I don't mean that in like a gloating way. I just felt like my deck was unbeatable for most decks to beat if they're playing a linear, straightforward, you know, just attack every turn deck. But yeah, Mystery Garden was insane all day, being able to discard one of my, you know, leftover Dark Energy that I don't need if I already had one of Monkey Dory to draw cards, or just be able to get Psychic Energy in the discard pile. Really good. Let's see. I think everything else here is pretty self-explanatory. The Mr. Mime is just so good. Just being able to get that bench barrier is super nice. I also got to the paralysis off a couple of times to kind of save me turns from when I'm behind. Everything else here is pretty self-explanatory. Monkey plus Blacephalon is Exodia, and then Iron Bolt is just like one of the better attackers in the format. Mew is a consistency card, helps you kind of get set up, and it's your pivot. And then Mimikyu is just insane. Being able to filch for 1 energy is really nice. And then Copycat's good on random turns where your opponent uses a cool attack. I think all of these supporters are pretty normal. I went with the Tulip over the Clara because sometimes you do just grab back like 3 energy cards. But I do see the upside of Clara because Clara can also grab the Dark Energy back. So I went back and forth. I decided to go for Tulip on this day. I think there was a turn throughout the day where I did use Tulip to grab 3 Psychic Energy back. So I don't know. It's probably fine. And then, yeah, I just kind of maxed up on the hand disruption cards. I have Marnie and Iono. So I just want to be able to just disrupt my opponent's hand because usually this deck is going to be losing. The Technical Machine Blindside, let's go. The card's insane. Onto the item cards. People also have the question of the Earthen Vessel over the Professor's Letter. And the reason I had included the Earthen Vessel is that Earthen Vessel is a discard outlet, which kind of either lets you discard the Tina or it lets you discard like a useless card that you don't want anymore. Do I think Letter is better? Probably not for what this deck wants to accomplish, because there's a lot of times in the game where you kind of want to get rid of cards that aren't going to do you anything later in the game. I think like if I had a 61st card to play that I wanted to include in the deck, you would either be like Ultra Ball or like maybe Cleffa or maybe like Judge, maybe just to help with Iron Boulder a little bit. But Ultra Ball feels kind of bad in this deck because you don't have a lot of cards you really want to discard, especially if you're low on resources early in the game. It's not a very good card to help you get set up. It's kind of a good card to play once you're already set up. And the problem with this deck is not once it's already set up. Once it's already set up, I think it's the best deck in the format, but it's just getting to that point. So you want to use kind of the most efficient cards possible. And I think that like Evo Soda kind of fills that slot better. I did have Ultra Ball in here before, but Evo Soda just being able to get it for free just seems really, really nice. Over another question here. On the subject of Garden and someone who unfortunately didn't watch your games, how did you ever make that card feel good? I think it's just one of those cards that at the end of the game, it overperforms because you're going to want to have to pull off that blindside combo of just drawing a bunch of cards. So it can help you if your opponent like Ionas you to 1 or 2 and you already were able to preemptively put it down. You can kind of just use it to refill your hand and hopefully able to find those combo pieces. So I do think this card is not a cuttable card in this art type. I think it's incredibly good. All right, and for the last little round of questions, why should I play this deck over others? It beats every linear deck in the game, and if you're a good player, you should be able to kind of figure out a game plan into pretty much any deck that exists in the format. How do I prepare for GLC Tournament on release weekend? Just look at what cards can be potentially added to your deck and see if there is either an older version of that card that a new card is going to replace that would be a better version of it, like if it does more damage, has higher HP, has like a more utility into a different matchup. Honestly, I just kind of play cards that I think look good together and that have a lot of synergy, and that's kind of what I did. What are other cards to consider for this deck? Again, maybe like Ultra Ball if you wanted to play harder into an early game. Iron Boulder, there's always the Judge, or maybe if you want to play like Red Card. I think Reset Stamp is also a card I would consider just to be able to kind of reset your opponent's hand if you're not able to find that draw supporter. Also, why no Super Rod? You don't really want your energy to go back into the deck, so I feel like you would only really want to put back Pokemon, but because you have Giratina as an infinitely recurring attacker, you don't really need it. And then no Skylar or Petrol. I think those cards are just kind of not worth playing as your supporter for turn. Maybe if there was another card that was more like Arvin that grabbed me like an item plus something, like if we got a Karina for Psychic Pokemon, I think that would be worth including, but I think Skyla and Petrol are just maybe a little bit weak for what this deck wants. And how often did I pull off the Not Tuple's Blindside play? It is worth the extra space take up in the deck. Hey man, if you watch those little clips I put in this video of my stream games, I hit it all the time, man. That combo is absolutely disgusting. And honestly, there's some times where you just use the blindside for game on a not to combo. So you can just kind of like, if your opponent hits into you and they just, have like a beefy Pokemon on the active, like something that's got a Luxurious Cape, you can kind of just Tina Ping, load something up, and then boom, just kill something off the bench for 1 prize for game. Or if your opponent has like 1 Pokemon that they like need that's essential to their setup, like you're playing against Dark and they have like 1 attacker plus like their 1 Toxtricity, you go, Ping Toxtricity or Monkey Ping Toxtricity and then blow it up and they have no energy acceleration. That's another good spot to use that card in as well.
Well, final pit stop before home. We got like 2 hours before we get back, and then I'll be home and a little bit they'll be home, and then we'll all be home, and then we can all go to sleep. And yeah, I had a good time at the Full Grip,
Sleep,
3K, 6K, whatever it was. And yeah, you know what I mean. Hear that? But good time. We ain't be afraid of.